All right, welcome back. Day 15, lesson 4.3. So remember, thinking back to the previous lesson, especially 4.2, we're talking about similar shapes, similar polygons, meaning they're allowed to get bigger and smaller, but they don't change their shape, meaning their angles are still the same angles, but their sides are allowed to get bigger and smaller as long as all sides grow proportionally. So angles have to stay congruent, sides have to stay proportional. So we're going to start with this warm up. Remember, we call this a similarity statement. Here's our similarity symbol. We only use these if they're triangles. If they're not triangles, we just use all the vertices. Remember, there's a lot that we can read from here. We know that D is congruent to X because they're in corresponding positions. So we can look at the angles, or we can look at them as corresponding sides. DE, so side DE, they're next to each other, would go with XY. So we can get a lot of information just by looking at that similarity statement. Reason being, like for myself, I can easily get confused about flipping these shapes in my head. Sometimes they're obvious, sometimes they're very close. So number one, write three angle congruency statements. So we already started that out. D goes with X, E goes with Y, F goes with Z. Notice I did not even look at the two triangles. So D goes with X, so angle D is congruent to angle X. E goes with Y. And the last one up here, F goes with Z. Write an extended proportion. Now, proportion is showing that the sides are proportional. So triangles, so I have three sides, so I'm going to have three ratios. And I know that DE goes with XY. So DE goes with XY. So DE goes with XY. So 12 over 15. EF goes with YZ. EF goes with YZ. So 8 and 10. And then FD goes with ZX. So there's our extended proportion. Three, identify the scale factor. Since these are all equal, they simplify down to the scale factor. So if I was to simplify all of those fractions, they're going to simplify down to 4 over 5. Notice this says B over B to A. And if I look up here, I've been doing A over B. So A to B is 4 over 5. B to A is 5 over 4. That's the only time it matters what's in the numerator and what's in the denominator. If that's not stated, then it's really no big deal. All right, so there's a lot there to show that two triangles are similar. We have to show that all the angles are congruent and all the sides are proportional. This next section is going to speed that process up. We're going to go ahead and look for a certain number of criteria that will deem the triangles similar. And there's three ways we will do this. One way is to forget about the angles. If we can just say that all three sides are proportional, then we can go ahead and deem that the angles are indeed congruent. If the pairs of corresponding sides, since it's side, 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 of two triangles are proportional, then the triangles are similar. So we don't have to worry about writing the angle congruency statements. Basically, if you just show the extended proportion, that is good enough. What this means is if each side grows or shrinks at the same rate, then the triangle stays proportional. Therefore, no matter how big or small the triangle gets, the angles never change. Meaning the shape doesn't change. Meaning if we cut these all in half, change the size, didn't change the shape. We change all the sides at the same rate, we deem that all the angles have been unaffected. Or we can go ahead and maybe triple this. 36, 48, 42. Same shape, different size. So now if I say, are these two triangles similar? We know nothing about the angles, but we don't need to because we know all six sides. We know each pair of corresponding sides, which we just need to know which ones are corresponding. And the way to do this is go after the biggest side first and pair it up with the biggest side. So 10 over 15, that ratio should be the same as, now I go for the smallest one, 6 and 9. And then the middle and the middle, 8 and 12. If those are indeed proportional, and they do, they all simplify down to 2/3. That means yes, they are similar. So I usually say yes, or I give a check mark, and I always say what I use. We use side, side, side similarity. And we can write a similarity statement. We can say triangle is similar to this triangle. Now, it doesn't matter how you order the first three letters. I'm just going to say SUT. And what angle goes with S? Well, S is between, for me, blue and yellow, or the biggest and the medium side. So that's X. U goes with W, and T goes with V. So it's going to go X, W, V. It doesn't matter the order that you put these three. It does matter the order that the next three follow. So if you have all six sides, you have all three sides of each of the two triangles, we can use side, side, side easily. Second scenario is, what if we don't have any sides and we just have angles? Well, it's a little bit easier because we don't even need to know all three angles. We actually only need to know two angles in each triangle. If two pairs of angles in one triangle are, remember, angles have to be congruent, to corresponding angles of another triangle, then the triangles are similar. Now listen, we can make this angle, 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 but we're just making it easier on us because we know that all three angles add up to 180. So if these two angles are the same as these two angles, then M and R have to be the same. So we're basically assuming that, we're deeming that true. Remember, the whole point of this is to shorten our process to show that the two triangles are similar. So we just have to find two pairs of congruent angles. Well, I know T and P are both 90, so angle T is congruent to angle P. And I know S is congruent to L because it has this marking in here. So I just say angle S is congruent to angle L. And that's it. Check angle, angle similarity. And then our similarity statement. Because of angle, angle similarity, we can say that triangle STR goes with, now look, we already paired up S with L. So S goes with L. We already know that T goes with P. So it means R goes with M. So it could be straightforward like that, no math involved, or sometimes you do have to do a little bit of math. And when I say a little bit of math, I mean a little bit of math, like subtraction, and that's it. Right now we have B and N, they're both 87. So that's one angle. Angle B is congruent to angle N. A is not congruent to M. Now you might say, well, A is congruent to L. Well, chances are it is. Let's just show it. All three of these have to add up to 180. So let's subtract them away. And they do indeed work out. Now you might have went after C, and C happens to be 45. You don't have to do both of them. And don't assume that that's going to work out. There will be some in the homework where it doesn't work out, and you'll have to say that they're not similar. So we're going to say check angle, angle similarity tells us that these two triangles are similar. So I'm just going to go ahead and say ABC. And what angle goes with A? Well, we know A is 48 and so is L. We know that B and N go together. And we know that C goes with M. All right, B. Something that should jump out at us is these two markings. Remember, these markings tell us that the lines are parallel. Also, I have R is 45 and I think V is 45. So angle R is congruent to angle V. Now, these are vertical angles, so these are congruent, but we don't know what they are. But we do know they're congruent. We don't have to know what they are exactly. Understanding that they're vertical angles is enough. So you can come in here and say angle RSW is congruent to angle VSB. Notice how I named them with the triple letters? Because if I said angle S, we really don't know which of these we're talking about. So I just kind of wrote that a little bit more. RSW VSB. Or since these two segments or sides are parallel, this is a little bit harder to see. So these are parallel. That means that's a transversal. That means that these angles are alternate interior angles. So there is a way to go ahead and say that W and V are congruent, but we don't have to. We can go after the vertical angles. So at that point, we can say check angle similarity, triangle RWS is similar to VBS. All right, so that's side, side, side. That's angle, angle. What if we have a combination of the two? We have some sides and we have an angle. Now, the arrangement of these letters is important. It has to be an angle sandwiched between two sides. And here's what it looks like down here. Side, here's a side. An angle, here's an angle. Here's another side. See how that green angle is sandwiched between. We call that the included angle. That green angle cannot be over here. It has to be between the two. Side, angle, side. And when that happens, we need another congruent angle with proportionality coming out of that angle. So I have to be able to state that I have a congruent angle, just like we would do if it was angle, angle. Now, if we had one more angle, we would be done. We could just say angle, angle, but we don't. If I had one more pair of sides, we could do side, side, side. I just don't have enough to do angle, angle. I don't have enough to do side, side, side. I have a little bit of both. So I did my angle. Now I have to show the sides coming out, like 3 and 6 is proportional to 8 and 16. since we're back to two fractions, you can just do your cross products if you want. And that's 48 equals 48. Make sure you check that though, or simplify them both down to 1/2 equals 1/2. Because sometimes it won't work, so don't assume. So at that point, we can say check, side angle side similarity, and write our similarity statement. So the similarity statement, ABC, goes with DEF. All right, are the two triangles similar? Write a similarity statement. So notice what's happening here. When I ask you, are the triangles similar? The first thing I always try and do is side, side, side. Do I have all 6 sides? I do. So I'll just set up my extended proportion. Or, since it doesn't look like there's any math involved for finding any angles, I can just find 2 pairs of angles and say angle, angle. Or, we're just going to stick with side, angle, side here, since that's what this is kind of going over here. I'm going to say angle D and angle B. And then the sides that come out, we have 18, which is 18 smaller than 27. So 18 goes with 6. 27 goes with 9. So 18 over 6 . 27 over 9. And those both simplified down to 3. So we could say check, side angle side similarity tells us that triangle ABC is similar to triangle. Now A is at the end of yellow. So it goes with E, and it has the 3 arcs. So E, D, F. All right, make sure you can see the 2 triangles here. We have the smaller triangle, and we have the bigger blue triangle. It helps to separate that. So they're telling us 8, 12, 10, because 8 plus 2, 12 plus 3 is 15. I don't have the third side, so I can't do side, side, side. And it seems like we don't know anything about angles, but this is K, and this is also K. That's actually the same angle. So we can say that angle K is congruent to angle K. And then 8 over 10 is the same as 12 over 15, which is 4/5 equals 4/5. So check side, angle, side. Therefore, triangle KLP is similar to KMN. All right, so there's three strategies that we have: side, 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 angle, angle, and side, angle, side. Tomorrow is a practice day. This is something that you're going to have to get used to, practicing being able to see those. So tomorrow I want you to do this in-class practice, and then I want you to do the homework that's available as well. There's also a review here for 4.3. In the review, it's nice because it puts all the angles together. It puts all the side angle sides together and all the side sides together. So you don't have to guess which one's which. When you get into the homework, they're all going to be mixed up. So in the homework, what I want you to do, you need to state if they are similar or not. Sometimes they're not going to be, so you'll just write not similar. If they are, I want you to complete the similarity statement. So give me the three vertices of the other triangle. Make sure they're in the correct order based on these three letters. And I want you to either show me the work and show me what you used. So I want to see all the criteria met for side, side, side. I want to see that extended proportion showing that all three ratios are equal. If you're doing angle, angle, I want to see the angles that are congruent. I need to see two pairs. If you're doing side, angle, side, I need to see the angle pair and the two pairs of corresponding sides that are equal. That's the only way you're allowed to say yes. You can't just say yes without really showing me why it's yes. So between tonight and all day tomorrow, I want you guys to look at the review and the homework and the in-class practice. Okay? I'm going to go through a couple of the in-class practice now, basically showing you here's what my strategy would be. Number one, I know nothing about sides. So I am getting rid of A and B. So I either need to find two pairs of angles that are congruent. Here's one pair of angles. And I have these vertical angles. So this is what I want to see when you do the homework. I want you to meet that criteria. You need to stay, angle F is congruent to angle K. Angle EJF is congruent to angle KJL. There are the two angles. So it's C. Okay? Don't just say yes, angle, angle. If I look down here at number 5, I see I have nothing with angles. Now, angles can be a little wishy-washy. If you know nothing about angles, sometimes there's a way to know something about angles. Because we have properties when it comes to angles. We have vertical angles, alternate interior angles. However, with sides, you either have them or you don't. And here, we don't need any angles because I have all three sides. So I'm going to go after side, side, side. I just want to see if that actually is proportional. Will those fractions actually equal each other? If they don't equal each other, then I'm going to select C. If they do equal each other, then I'm going to select D. All right, so make sure you guys go through those, go through the review in 4.3, and go over the homework. So you have today and you have all day tomorrow as a homework practice day for 4.3. Make sure you ask me any questions, come to my office hours. Make sure you're getting any of your confusions clarified through me before we move on to the next section.